And hello there. We welcome you to the latest installment of the Crustacean Nation podcast on HickoryCrawdads.com and our Hickory Crawdads YouTube page. Brian Rushing here, the voice of your Hickory Crawdads. So glad that you could join us for this latest installment. If you've been to LP Franz Stadium recently over the last few years, you understand this ballpark looks fantastic. The playing surface is pristine. And one of the people that makes this happen here at the ballpark is Corey Church. He heads up the grounds crew at LP Franz Stadium. When we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to find out a little bit about Corey and what he does with his crew daily at the ballpark to make this place look so good. All that as we continue on this next installment of the Crustacean Nation podcast here on HickoryCrawdads.com and the Hickory Crawdads YouTube page. Make sure that you're at LP Franz Stadium Thursday, August 22nd at 6 p.m. for the Hickory Crawdads Battle of the Bags Cornhole Tournament. Registration is just $30 for a team of two, and you're going after a $200 grand prize. There's no denying when the bags get flying at LP Franz Stadium. That's Thursday, August 22nd. Hickory Crawdads Baseball. Abide by the claw. And we welcome you back into this latest Crustacean Nation podcast on HickoryCrawdads.com, here with the lead groundskeeper at LP Franz Stadium, Corey Church. Corey, thank you for spending some time with me for this next installment of the Crustacean Nation podcast.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for having me.
Well, it's good having you. One of the things that you walk into the ballpark and you're like, okay, this is the awesome thing about golf courses and baseball fields. I get to see stripes in the outfield. I get to see dirt as smooth as a baby's rear end. It seems like even the water just happens to be dispersed better than anywhere else in the world on golf courses and baseball parks. What was it that got you into this being your line of work? Because I see it. I know it takes incredible work. Somebody's got to do the work. That's you and your crew. What was it that made you realize, yeah, this is it for me?
Yeah, well, I grew up playing baseball. Started out at T-ball like everybody else. Got all the way up to my freshman season in high school, and I made the team, but never went and played a game. Just wanted to know that I was good enough to make the team, and that's all I needed. So then I decided to go get a job, and at 15-ish, the only job that really stuck out to me was being an umpire. At the time, they were paying $25, $30 a game, and I just thought that was cash money right in the pocket and no bills, and we're ready to rock. So started out doing that. Got done in the off season. I would hop on with my cousin at the time, got some landscaping crews, and hopped on with them, and we would do the regular, the residential style, your mow and blow type deals with some weed eating and stuff, and got really used to doing it and loved how grass grew and learned everything about it, decided to make a career out of it. And at the time in 2015, I think it was, I saw the seasonal assistant position pop up with the Hickory Crawdads and applied for it and grew up right on the other side of the airport from the Crawdads Stadium and decided to give it a shot. So over here we come. They gave me a shot, took a chance on me, so I figured I'd give it all I had, and worked out really well. Was the assistant for 2015 and 2016, and then at the time the head groundskeeper here, Zach Van Voorhees, decided he was going to pursue some work with the Birmingham Barons, a AA for the White Sox, and he left, and I got promoted to the head guy in 2016. Worked that season. Was the first season that I've actually got a big boy job. So that was whenever it first come down to me for me of what all's involved, what all it's going to be, and where we go from here. So learned a lot that season. Learned that I still wanted to be a kid at times.
Right.
Definitely had some issues with scheduling, and learned the woes of what it's like to be a head guy. Kind of got thrown into the fire a little bit, but wanted the job and everything. And at the time, still going to CVCC with their turf grass program, trying to get the degree to get the job that I was having, going and getting the degree at the same time. So a lot going on there. Realized that I needed to take a step back from that, and went to Cary, North Carolina worked as the assistant superintendent for Prestonwood Country Club. They host a PGA Champions Tour event every year.
Okay, right.
So got to meet the big wigs like Phil Mickelson and stood next to John Daly and guys like that that can really swing a golf club, and got to see what it was like to maintain a PGA Champions Tour golf course and learned how to take care of grass from that experience. You don't really get any classes going through school of how to take care of dirt. That's not a thing. You got turf management, but there's never any dirt management classes. So learned everything I could about dirt through Zach and through my time here working as the assistant and then the head job. And whenever I got to the golf course, that's when it really clicked for me, the grass-wise stuff of it. So learning how to take care of, 150 acres of fairways and greens and rough and how to combine everything, and learned how to make all that golf course acreage look good. I feel like I learned to take all the products that did that, could compile them and make 2 acres look great. And I thought that was the best thing to do, is to come back into baseball for me. So got a job with the Winston-Salem Dash, worked there from 2019 through 2021. Was there and got promoted up to the director of grounds at that place, and took care of the company that, took care of the landscape on the outside by the parking lot and stuff, and ran the baseball field as well. So had a lot of experience there, learned to put products where they needed to go and dial everything in like I wanted to, and then saw the Hickory Crawdads job popped up. This was moving back home for me. They were paying the bills a little bit better than the Dash were, and just made sense to move back here, and got back here in 2021 right after COVID, and been here ever since.
Coming back the second time around for you makes this probably a little more personal. I mean, the reality is you could have gone to Tulsa, Oklahoma and done this job like any other minor league ballpark destination. But I would imagine coming back to LP Franz Stadium, get an opportunity to be the head guy a second time, probably made it really personal. I would imagine that you, as well as your staff, really putting a lot of heart and soul into this ballpark, and not just in the way that, we work really hard. To you, this is your hometown team.
Bro.
This is your hometown ballpark. I would imagine for you, you put a ton of pride in the product that you guys put together night in and night out.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the Dash, great facility. Everything about it is great, but just didn't feel home for me. It's a whole nother ballpark, if you will, for lack of better terms. It's a whole nother ballpark here versus there. The small town feel of it. I've got friends that I grew up with are coming to see this ballpark. I've got, family. I've got try to make mama proud while I'm here. So
Sure.
And she's got to keep her reputation up. So making sure that what fans see here, if it does happen to get back to me or my family, I always want it to be positive. So that's what's driving me to keep it looking better than it ever has throughout the years that I've been gone.
A lot of folks do like any other baseball fan. They'll show up a half an hour ahead of time. They'll get themselves a cold drink, maybe a hot dog. The kids will go wander around a little bit. They'll watch the game. They'll go home. Maybe it's a win. Maybe it's a loss. They'll hop in the car. They'll drive home and go on about their lives with no idea, no concept of all the man hours that are put out here on this field to make it look as good as it does. What does that day look like for you guys from start to finish? I mean, I know when I leave the ballpark, and it's much later than the fans, you guys are still grinding away on whether it's mound repair or getting the batter's boxes ready for the next day or maybe even pulling a tarp. What does that day look like for you guys?
So a typical day for us is normally about an 8 a.m. arrival. We'll get here and kind of get our feet together on what all needs to be taken care of for the day, getting in touch with Chad, our manager, the visiting manager, whatever needs to be done to see what time they want to be out on the field, what they have planned for the day, and that schedules a lot of stuff for what we need to take care of. The biggest thing for us would be moisture management. We have to water the dirt to make sure that it's got the consistency that is needed for a baseball game to take place, so you don't want it too hard to where balls can jump off of it like you're hitting ground balls on a parking lot surface, and you don't want it too soft to where the cleats get stuck in the ground whenever they take off to run. So trying to get that moisture out where it needs to be for the cleats to go in and out without having any issues, and the ball rolls like it should, and I don't have to worry about any accidents happening during the game.
So what you're telling me is the standard in minor league baseball is significantly higher than at the little league level or even the high school level.
Yes. The standard is a lot higher, and having the right equipment and, the right budget and everything, that goes a long way too. But the main thing is making sure that moisture is right, because you got to think, you got a lot of guys out here that are getting these big signing bonuses for $26, $27 million, and they're 18 years old. What are they going to do if they get a bad hop and it busts them in the lip and they're out for however long, and they make more money than I've ever thought about making?
Sure.
And they're half the age that I am. So there's a lot that goes into it as far as like a safety-wise that I don't think Little League and everything else gets all that, because they don't have that big bonus pay guy that comes through and you have to take care of him. So there's a lot that goes into it that is on a safety level more than it is like an aesthetics type thing, and aesthetics just happens to come along with it.
Well, the aesthetic is certainly something to behold, and I mean the amount of detail, brushing outside of the batter's boxes just to make it look good. Now, it serves a long-term purpose, there's no question, but like the care that's taken even to the warning track. For a lot of ballparks in an earlier day, it was just a place where all the water went, and if it looked like garbage, well, that was just the warning track. It's not a big deal. You guys are carrying out everything, executing every detail, making sure that the lip is minimal at best going into the outfield. I mean, you guys have literally not missed a beat when it comes to this field. Talk to me a little bit about the postgame, though, because, like, for everybody else, it's the time to wind down. For you guys, you might have gotten a break during the game. Maybe. You may have a chance to sit down and watch the game some. But once the game is over, you guys spring right back into action with basically the final chapter for the evening. What's that look like? When I see you guys with the brushes and the clay, what are you doing?
Yep. I mean, after our morning duties, get everything done, we actually do get to sit back and watch a Crawdad baseball game for at least 3 innings before we got to go out there and drag. And you'll see us during the game do their quick drag and everything. But, after the game's over, everybody's headed out. That was whenever we go into our repair mode. So we'll start fixing everything, the holes from the cleats on both the mound and the plate, and then both bullpens. We've got to get rid of all the chalk that is the foul lines. We've got to make sure that all the conditioner or the dirt that got pushed into the grass gets pushed back into the dirt, or else we'll have issues with, that's how the lips get created, those transitions you were speaking of. If I get dirt in there, we'll just say just like 1/8 of an inch. If I get 1/8 of an inch of dirt into that grass, and that happens for 8 days in a row, which the typical homestand 6, which we're right there at it,
sure,
you're looking at 1 inch above the dirt just in that one homestand. So if that stuff is not brought back into the dirt, our transitions or our lips will be 1 inch higher than our dirt by the time that next homestand comes around.
That's amazing.
So stuff like that has to be taken care of immediately, or it turns into a lot bigger project than it is. So after the game gets over, that's whenever we kind of have a lot more time to kind of chill out. Now, don't get me wrong, our guys want to go home. I want to go home. But it's stuff that needs to be taken care of. That way we set ourselves up good for the next game. So taking care of small things like that. Moisture management's another thing that goes in post-game as well, making sure that the field stays wet throughout the night to where whenever we come in the mornings, our moisture management's a little bit easier to take care of. So just different things like that. Attention to detail is huge around here, and making sure that everything's going to be the way it needs to be for the next game.
Well, now, so for instance, obviously one of the things, and whether they say it or not, it's probably one of the banes of existence for someone who works in the front office, because you've always got to make sure you got an extra set of mud gear, okay? So when you have to pull the tarp, you know you're going to get dirty, you know you're going to get wet. What goes into making a determination and working in concert with Douglas Locascio? Hey, we got to get you guys down here. We got to pull the tarp. And what are the determining factors of, well, we got an hour before we really have to pull, or this is Mayday, we got to do it now? We
get a lot of showers that come around here that dance a lot because of the river, like the Catawba River or Lake Hickory, whatever you want to call it. They like to dance around and do a lot. And I've got anywhere from 7 to 8 weather apps on my phone, and then I've got probably 3 or 4 different websites I go to on the computer. Just got prettier radar. They got prettier colors. I can look at them and kind of gauge some things a little bit different. Never go off the future. This place has been one of those places that the future radar just does not make sense for how it looks and how it works, so we never go off of it. We got to make sure that everything is going off of the past. We look at our hourly chances, and we also have a couple of meteorologists at our disposal. Chris and Daniel, they're great guys. They work for Foothills Weather Network, and they're great. We send them texts. They send us texts. They let us know what they see, what we see, and they kind of give me a great idea. And then I can start watching the clouds around the ballpark from them, what they say, and then base everything off of that. So it's a lot of watching the radar, watching the weather channels, watching the weather apps, doing all kinds of different things to make sure that whenever that does happen, because it's such a big deal. I mean, you got to think how much money we're losing if we have to go into a doubleheader and we give everybody free admission into that next game. That's like $1 million that could potentially be lost in that if I don't do my job the way it should be. So that's one of the most stressful things about being a groundskeeper, I think, is making all the climate or the act of God type deals that need to be taken care of to where we can still get a baseball game in. So once we do have rain coming in, we know what it's doing, we know how it's dancing, what it's going to do. So we can either make the call and get the tarp on as quick as possible if we know that it's going to hit, or I can go ahead and roll the thing out with the Bobcat and make sure that it's ready to go whenever it does get close enough to where we can get it, to make sure that it doesn't, if it does happen to skirt us, I don't have to kill the front office staff with having to take a dry tarp off, and they can't stand that. So I try to make it as painless as possible and only if needed to make everybody happy around here.
Sure. Now, with that said, you talked about the anxiety of the tarp pull and the weather that happens around here. How many times have you been awakened overnight by a storm at the house thinking, uh-oh, I might have to make the drive in? Yeah. I mean, how often does that happen for you?
Well, I mean, with around here, we don't have the manpower to do something like that. For me to just kind of lose sleep over the fact that we've got a rainstorm coming, if there's a chance before we leave that night, we'll put it on just to be safe, whether it be a night before the game or we're going to come in early and go ahead and put it on. That way we don't have to worry about it throughout the day. We're going to go ahead and, protect ourselves from that, to where if that does happen, I'd like to sleep through a rainstorm. I think they're great to sleep through, so
sure.
I don't want to be one to be woken up by it and the first thing be panic. So if there's a chance, we'll go ahead and put it on the day prior. And that way it kind of saves ourselves. That way we don't have to worry about it in the mornings. But there is some times that you get those pop-ups. They come through, and if they weren't on the radar the night before, normally they're not going to be detrimental to the game.
Okay. All right. This is something we do with every Crustacean Nation podcast. It's called In a Pinch. So, Corey Church, you are in the hot seat. It is now time for you to be in a pinch. Question number 1. You're here a lot, so your downtime is incredibly important. What, Corey, do you do with what little downtime you may have, especially during the season?
I'm a local outdoorsman. I've got a boat. I've got a couple ATVs, and for me, stress relief is to be out on the lake early in the morning when the weather's the way it should be, in the 70s and the 80s, and there's no one else out there with me. And luckily with my job, I'm able to take a couple Tuesdays and Wednesdays off whenever the team's not in town instead of my weekends, and I can be out there and be the only one on the water. That is one of the biggest things that I love to do in my downtime, and that's what I look forward to whenever I'm not at a Crawdad game.
Okay, and for the record, okay, because I know that Douglas Locassio's listening, you're not taking your ATVs out on the warning track. You're not doing donuts out in the parking lot. You're keeping everything off-site.
Yep, everything stays off-site. They don't get to have that much fun here.
Okay. All right. Next question. This, obviously, having grown up in this area, you know everything about this area, I would imagine, possible. Kind of dovetailing off your downtime, have there been any other secret places that you've been able to find, maybe a particular fishing hole or a place that you can take your ATVs, or even something just not too far away from the ballpark here that, if I've got an hour and a half, and I want to decompress before the guys make it out here, I can go there. Is there anything like that around here?
We've got a small little access road back behind the shop that leads down to an old pump house, and it's right by the railroad tracks and leads up to the river itself. So if I do ever get an hour or two to where I'm here and I need some time to get away from everything, it's nice to just, hop on the Gator or the Bobcat and ride down to the lake, spend a little bit of time down there. Not saying fish, not saying do anything crazy, but just sit and, kind of decompress for a minute. That's probably where I'll be.
Okay. That's fair enough. All right. Here's the one that I bet you get all the time, okay? And I'm kind of going off script a little bit with this one. How many times do you get stopped by people at the ballpark or even just your buddies and say, hey, man, I really like what you've done to the outfield out there. What you say you come by when the team's on the road and help my backyard look like this? What's your answer for that?
The last thing that I think about doing whenever I leave here is taking care of grass. And I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing for you. I mean, it's like if you were to go home, and I want you to broadcast everything that we do for the rest of the day whenever you get there.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that my wife really doesn't like it when
I
do
she might
play-by-play of her life?
She might not. She might not be into that, but if she is, great for her. She's got one of the best.
I can tell you that's a negatory. That is not happening at Casa. That's for sure.
That's it. I after I leave here, man, I really just want to leave work at work, and that means not only just all the stress and everything that goes along with it, but the grass as well. I've got an old LA 225 John Deere that doesn't have a hood, that's got a 42-inch cut on it, and that's what I use to mow my grass. I just want to make the tall grass short at home. I don't care if it looks pretty. I don't care if it does any of that nonsense. I'll bring all that here, and I'll do it here, and then at home I just want the grass to be short.
So you don't get any business from the HOA or anything like that? Or?
No, nothing like that. They know that I know what I'm doing, and if they need something, I'll help out. But as far as me going home and wanting to go work on somebody's yard when I get there, that's not something on my list.
That becomes someone else's problem.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, final question here in a pinch. Obviously, this is home for you, and you've had an opportunity to venture off and ply your trade at other locations, be it baseball or golf. For you, what do future career aspirations look like? I mean, this is the minor leagues, and one of the things that not many people talk about around here is virtually everybody that's in the minor leagues has aspirations of moving up the ladder. Is that necessarily the case for Corey Church?
Well, all of our other departments moving up in the ranks there's a lot of changes that go along with that. On the ground side of it, a baseball field is the same here as it is in AA, as it is in AAA, as it is in the major leagues. I mean, the field-wise, everything's going to be the same. I mean, if you step back and look at it, the field is not going to change. It's going to be the same dimensions. It's going to be the same, attention to detail. It's going to be the same products. All that stuff is going to be the same to me. So as far as like the backdrop behind the ballpark, that's great to have and everything, but that's not going to change what I do throughout the day. That's not going to change anything to do with me. So as far as me striving to be MLB guy, that's not huge on my list. I just want to make where I'm at look the best it has in a while and get as many compliments on it as I can and know that I've made a difference wherever I step foot in. And I just think that the baseball field itself is not going to change much no matter where I go. So being here, being home, this is where I'll be for a while.
Well, and I think that's the point to make here, is in a transient world of minor league baseball where people are coming and going. It's always nice to have a core of people that are from around these parts that make this their backyard. And as far as I'm concerned, not a better person to have in the business as far as making that their backyard. So, Corey Church, thank you for spending some time with us during the Crustacean Nation podcast. This is going to become, I can tell, one of the favorites. This was very entertaining. Thank you for making it happen.
Absolutely. Brian, next time we're going to roll that tarp out, dude, I expect you to grab at least one loop, and we're going to walk it on. That way you get a taste of it.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure that
I'll hold you to it. Don't tempt me.
I'll have a second set of clothes on the ready.
You better bring another pair of socks. That's huge. Everybody likes to ruin their socks.
Extra socks.
Extra socks.
Okay. That's the pro tip. Corey Church, thank you for spending some time with us. When we come back, we'll put a bow on this Crustacean Nation podcast here on HickoryCrawdads.com. The Sweet Frog Claw Club is the official club for kids 12 and under. This year, a 2024 membership includes complimentary ticket to every Crawdads home game, a complimentary voucher for speed pitch, carousel rides, and the bounce house each Saturday, discounts, and so much more. Make sure that you get your mom and dad to sign you up for the Sweet Frog Claw Club. Hickory Crawdads Baseball, abide by the claw. And we thank you so much for spending some time with us for the Crustacean Nation podcast. We really want to thank Corey Church for being a part of the podcast this time around. We hope that you'll join us repeatedly throughout the course of this year as we tell some of the stories of the people that make life here at LP Franz Stadium so much fun as we cover the Hickory Crawdads throughout this 2024 season. Don't forget, you should always be checking out HickoryCrawdads.com for the schedule, upcoming promotions, and the broadcast schedule, as we're going to have all of the Hickory Crawdads home games and select road games on HickoryCrawdads.com as part of an audio stream to go with MILB.TV and the Valley Live app. Till we're back with you next time for another installment of the Crustacean Nation podcast, this is Brian Rushing saying so long. We'll see you next time.
In the cool Catawba River mist, there's excitement in the air. From Lake Hickory shores across Unifor, it's spreading everywhere. From the young folks to the old folks, it's a feeling they can't hide. Since the Crawdads came to Hickory, this whole town's filled with pride. Hometown baseball, it's got a hold on me. Give me Crawdads baseball, Hickory's own number one hometown baseball team. There's an old rebel spirit in every part of Francis Stadium. So let's stand and cheer, 'cause the dads are here and the fight has just begun. And to those who should oppose us, well, let them know this law. When you tangle with a crawdad, you're gonna feel the claw. Hometown baseball, it's got a hold on me. Give me Crawdads baseball, Hickory's own number one hometown baseball team. So come out to the ballpark for some good old-fashioned fun. Join your friends and family, the good times have just begun. Hometown